Marjot and I were laying in bed. Rain was coming down outside. Despite being a little damp, we were feeling pretty good. There was a pirate merchant nearby, so when I hopped out of bed, I was gonna go have a chat with him, see what they had for me. We were still working on expanding our base when I called the pirate merchant. They had some bionics, which we decided to buy. We sold a bunch of weapons, random other stuff as well. Things we just didn't need. They weren't interested in too much, but I could cancel some of the bionics I'd planned based on the purchase I'd made. And I was going to be that much closer to being the fully bionic man. I picked up the stuff they'd dropped. Marjot woke up, had herself a meal. I was gathering up the meds that were out there. Marjot went and started working on the new wall for the expansion. She came in, installed that bionic leg on me. Some leather fell out of the sky, along with some scrap steel. The leather looked like it had come from those crazy aliens that are always trying to kill us. Marjot came in, worked on my operation, and it didn't take long before my new bionic leg was installed. She did some cleaning after that, make sure there was nothing infectious in the air, and she got back to working on that wall. I really wanted to get on out, visit some nearby cities, maybe slink around a pirate city. Seemed like a dangerous gambit though. We shared a chair, I had a meal, she was playing a game of Ur. About that time some tribespeople showed up, hell-bent on taking care of us. I whistled the animals on inside, and we gathered up the guns and headed out to defend the place. They came running in, stomping on our traps. Well, we tried shooting at them, see if we could take some down before they killed traps, but we didn't have any luck. 5 of them had gone down. One of them was still alive. He wasn't going to last too long though. It didn't seem like these were bad people by nature. They just didn't know us. Thought they would do us in. So we decided to see if we could get this guy nurtured back to health. I ran out to see if I could bring another one down, have a conversation with him. I didn't make it in time though, despite my bionic legs. And there was a bunch of stuff to pick up. A bunch of their bodies laying around. The orbital trade beacon had taken out. Marjot was tending that guy she'd brought in. Seemed like he'd pull through just fine. He's in pretty serious pain, but otherwise it looked like he'd be alright. Marjot headed off to bed. I was picking up all the dead bodies. We'd have some traps to rebuild in the morning. For now though, I was off to bed once again. Our bedroom was a bit of a mess. When we got up, I cleaned. Marjot fed our prisoner. Zoscan was his name. I decided it was time to make a bunch more meals as well. I did a bit of constructing before that. We wanted to get our space expanded a bit. We had a bionic eye we wanted to install on Marjot, but I wasn't confident in my abilities to do so. I was close, I just didn't want to botch it. So for now, we decided to hold off. I'd practice doing some tending on some of the people that came around trying to kill us as I could. Get a little more confidence in treating people. So we were working on building that wall. Most of the traps had been rebuilt. Our fella got infected about that time, so I had to go tend to him. And a transport pod crashed down nearby as well. She wasn't in too bad a shape. Somehow had some frostbite. Marjot went, decided to capture her, put her in with Zoscan. I was rebuilding the trap, out hauling stuff. Marjot was bringing that other person in. Marjot got her in bed. I went in there to do the tending. The more I did, the better I'd get at it, and it wouldn't take long. I gave Marjot some time to chill out, use the telescope, have a good time. I had myself a meal. Decided it was time to start doing some cooking. We had some animals that could be butchered, but we also had a bunch of milk that we could use to cook with. So I got busy on that. Marjot was working on that wall. I decided to chill out. Still learning these bionic eyes. It was pretty cool though. I was feeling like a totally new man. It was only going to get better. We were off to bed about 9 o'clock that night. Both feeling pretty good. We had a good time that time with each other. The prisoner room was a little cold, so we opened up the heat vent from our room. I got up and had a meal, had 10 Zoscan, who had an infection. Marjot took that other person out and set her free, and she wandered off. Walking over those traps seemed a little dangerous, but she made it. I was cooking away. Some meals came out of the sky about that time, and there was a dead alpaca laying over there as well. Certainly wouldn't hurt to bring those things in. So I cooked. Marjot worked on the wall till it was time for bed once again. Marjot went to pray early. I just kept on cooking. We burned through a lot of packaged survival meals, so I was making more. We were a little short on power as well, so we turned off some of the equipment we weren't using. It seemed to solve the issue. I hit the hay about 10 o'clock. Marjot was out and about. A bunch of people showed up. Once again, intent on doing us harm. More tribes people. For the longest time, those aliens were trying to kill us. Now it was the humans trying to come at us. We didn't even have a problem with them, so we just went about the usual procedure. They came chasing after Marjot, and they had guns and bows. One of them ended up shooting her right in the foot. She was still moving alright despite that, though. A few of them were going down on our traps. I started shooting at some of the ones that came at me. And eventually, enough of them went down, the rest panicked and buggered off. Once again, we were going to try and rescue the ones we could. Get them nurtured back to health. And it'd give me more practice doing medical stuff, which I still needed. So Trado got brought in, and I tended her up. We weren't using any medicine, but I was learning fast, so that was good. Zoscan recovered about that time. Marjot never got tended. Her foot bled up our room pretty bad. We'd totally forgotten about it. I was having a beer I'd bought from that trader. There were a few of them in our storage room. Decided I'd do some cleaning when I finished that. There was blood all over the place. We had bodies to haul, traps to build. I grabbed Zoscan, Trado, set them free. Zoscan was still down and out due to the infection, but eventually he got out of here too. With them both free, hopefully they'd tell their people we weren't bad. They'd leave us the heck alone. Zoscan made it off. Trado snapped on her way, went totally berserk. We didn't even realize it at the time. We got wind of some crazy noise down south. Something came tunneling up out of the ground. Turns out it was a couple of those aliens. They started attacking the boomalope nearby. Didn't go the best for them before it was over. Turns out those things blow up when they die. One of them disappeared completely. We're still not sure where it ended up. And the other kept on attacking those boomalope. We went over, started shooting at it. I was a lot faster than Marjot was, given my bionic legs. And that alien ended up killing a boomalope and exploding in its face and killing it. So that was for the best. The other one was nowhere to be found. Trado had gotten herself killed, fighting with a raccoon, of all things. We couldn't help that. We did our best. We gathered up our guns to see if we could go take out that weird tunnel that had appeared. There was fire raging, so we headed over there, gave it the business. The boomalope was burning up, which is probably for the best, although it had started raining. We decided we'd had enough. We're gonna go on in. We still had traps to build. I was pretty quick with my new legs. There's so many dead people laying around. Both of us were getting crabby from that. I headed off to bed. Marjot followed me not too long after. Her foot had healed up alright, so that was great. She had a beer before bed, so she slept really well. I got up and hauled stuff around. Marjot did some cleaning before having a meal. The place was such a mess. There was wood laying all around outside that Marjot had chopped down. She's about the slowest tree chopper I've ever seen in my life, I think. We got the wood brought in. Marjot had herself a beer about that time. We were going to have to do some repairs on our place. Things were pretty beat up. There are also dead bodies to haul and put away. I got back to cooking for a bit, and then I went out to toss some horseshoes. Decided I'd better do some cleaning after that. Things were rather disgusting everywhere. Marjot was working on rebuilding the traps. So we built up the traps. As I was getting done, some cargo pods came down. Some of that tea I'd been making. We decided to bring in some steel as well, something we could turn into something usable. We were running a little low. The way we're always rebuilding our traps around here, we'd certainly need it. I didn't want to take the time to do any mining. Marjot left some buffalo milk laying outside, so we made a note to bring that in. And she got it as I was out grabbing the last of the steel. We decided to build a shelf near the door, somewhere to put the Molotovs. I built the last of the wall for the perimeter. And we decided to deconstruct the inside section. Also, I started roofing, decided that was probably a poor play. We got the Molotov set up in the spot where they were more accessible and wouldn't get wrecked by the weather. And we were off to bed at about 10 o'clock. Both of us feeling pretty decent. We had a good time that night once again. And decided to do some cleaning in the morning. After the cleaning, we had a meal together. Started deconstructing those old stone walls. Marjot was going to get to the business of smelting, since we had so much steel laying around. The walls all came down. Marjot got to the smelting. I had to do some planting. Some of the rice had died off. After that, decided it was time to make some more bionics. There was a few more things I could use. Another arm, another ear, stomach, spine. I wanted to be fully done up. I worked on that for a while, then I visited the grave of the dog we'd had. Marjot ran around smelting steel, then she went and watched some TV. Since our TV room was open, didn't have any prisoners in it for the minute. Marjot had a meal, milked the buffalo, and I was working on making some bionics. we're going to try and make a full kit for both of us. I grabbed the Molotovs and went out to see about burning the bodies. There certainly were enough of them around. I chucked a ton of those things and started a pretty good blaze going. Hopefully it ended up getting them all. If not, I'd have to make another attempt later. I ran back inside, re-equipped my gun, put the Molotovs away, and got back to the bionics I was making. I had a real knack for it now. Marjot smelted away, making good progress on the pile of steel that was laying around. He went to bed. I was a little grossed out about all the bodies I'd seen, but Marjot felt pretty good. That fire I started was spreading pretty rapidly, but it shouldn't be any danger to us, as long as our muffalo stayed out of it. We decided just to let it burn for a while. It would certainly start raining before too long, so I worked on bionics. Marjot smelted, did what she could to keep the place clean. I was trying to get through as much as I could, and for now we had the supplies. So I'd made an arm, and then we decided to go ahead and install it right away. Marjot was pretty gung-ho to see what I would become here, and she did it right away, once again successful. She was getting to be quite the surgeon, I'll say that. She kept right on smelting steel. I was laid up due to the anesthesia. Marjot also had to work with the muffalo, try to keep them things tame. Eventually, I got up and I was about again, faster than ever, working better than ever as well. Marjot came in and did some cleaning, got back to the business of smelting. I was working on a bionic stomach, which was a pretty interesting prospect. Once again, we were off to bed, a little bit wet from the rain, but otherwise feeling great. Another day had passed. I got up pretty early, gung-ho to keep working on that bionic stomach. When Marjot got up, we had a meal together. She got back to researching. She was trying to figure out how to make powered armor. I kept right on working on my bionics, once in a while stopping for a beer. Yeah, I got that done before too long. Started on the next thing. We got a call. That assassination they wanted us to do, they changed their minds. Good thing we had never headed out. We don't want to be seen as bad people. Marjot was working with the muffalo, doing some research, and I was watching some TV, just chilling out. It's a different experience when you have bionics, I'll tell you that. Did some cleaning after that. I laid down, waited for Marjot to come do my operation. She went and tossed some horseshoes, and then she got around to me. She cut me open pretty good. I was going to be all scarred up, but nothing painful. I still needed to get a bionic spine going. That'd be an awesome little treat. Flexibility through the roof, I suppose. There was a flash storm going on outside. Fires burning everywhere. Marjot was working with the muffalo, but not having much success. Chunks of spacecraft fell nearby. We were going to get that deconstructed when we could. More supplies is always useful, though we were sitting on a mountain of components at the minute. I went and got the space chunk ripped apart. Marjot was off to bed. I followed her when I got inside. It was about midnight. We had some fun that night. This bed was so comfortable. We really didn't need to sleep that long, so that was fantastic. When I woke up, I worked down the spine for a while. We were running low on good meals once again. Marjot got up and ate the last one. Decided she should try work with the Muffalo again. And she did have some success, which was good. I finished working on that bionic stomach. We were a little short on supplies, so I was going to have to make some more advanced components go into these things. But that was alright, I had the skill. And I felt confident now, making all this stuff. Marjot came in, installed my bionic spine. That was a heck of a process. Of course, I don't remember any of it. She was watching TV. I was laid up, feeling a little bit hungry, but otherwise fine. She was nice enough to bring me a meal when I couldn't get up out of bed. And she focused mostly on researching, keeping the place clean. When I finally got up, there was rice that had to be plucked out of the ground. Marjot was off to bed, soaking wet, but otherwise fine. Once again, we had some fun that night. I got up, worked on the rice some more, and decided to head back to bed after putting it all away. I was about as bionicized as I could be. A whole bunch of different tribals showed up next. Some of them butt naked, wielding clubs and stuff. I always wonder what happened to Kira. Hoping she don't show up here. It's been too long. We might not even recognize each other. If she even survives on this place. One of the roughest planets I'd ever would have imagined. We were standing in the doorway, getting ready for these jerks to come assault us. And they were coming from every angle. They started shooting. Didn't want to take any risks. So we got into the base. One of them had already died on our traps. The rest of them were hell-bent on heading that way. Some of them were bashing on our walls. If they got through, though, I imagine the guns will save us. So they came in, stepping on our traps. Some of them panicking off. Some of them not. A bunch of them had survived. We were going to see if we could nurse them back to health. Hopefully, we could make peace with these people at some point. And of the survivors, looked like they were going to be alright to pull through. We didn't have enough beds for them all, so we just had to make a simple sleeping spot on the floor. I was going to try and do as much of the tending as I could. So I captured the first one, Marjot captured the second, and we got them brought in. I got to the business of tending them. About that time, trade ship flew overhead. It was a bulk goods trader this time. Marjot had to tend one of those people up. We didn't want him to die. But I got the other two taken care of. And we planned on releasing them as soon as they could walk again. So we did a ton of tending. And then I had to call those bulk goods trader people. I was getting more confident with my medical ability. I bought an advanced component. We sold some stuff. I bought a bunch of plasteel as well. We were going to keep on making components, bionics, advanced components. We were going to need more. I didn't see any plasteel laying around to be mined, so we bought some beer, which I had one right away. I was hoping the bionic stomach wouldn't mess with my ability to catch a little beer buzz now and again. We had a bunch of bodies that needed hauling, a bunch of weapons as well. I was tending and feeding the prisoners. Then I hauled the bodies out. Marjot really hated that job. I didn't mind it as much as she did. And then we got to the business of rebuilding the traps. Fortunately, we'd gathered all that steel. Marjot went to toss some horseshoes despite the darkness. I kept working on the traps. And before too long, I was off to bed. I'd seen a whole lot of gross stuff, so I was a little crabby. Marjot saw some of it too, and she was soaking wet. I got up about 4 a.m., had a meal, fed a prisoner. Decided to do some cleaning too. There was a bunch of blood on the ground where we were keeping those people. Marjot took White, who was one of the prisoners, set him free. Hopefully he remembers that we did that for him. Although he might blame us for injuring him in the first place, not that we had anything to do with it. He showed up here, trying to kill us. I set Bear free. I ended up stepping on one of our traps. Bear ended up stepping on one as well, getting herself killed. That was most unfortunate. Marjot tended me up, and we were going to have to take Bear, toss her in the body pile. We set Mantis free around that time. He made it out of the traps alright. We rebuilt the two we'd set off. And the cotton was due then, so I had to pluck all that out of the ground. There was some rice about ready as well. And a bunch just laying in the rain. Marjot said a pleasant feeling settled over around that time as she was researching. I tried to get back to making advanced components, but I decided I'd better haul in all the cloth and rice we had sitting around. And then I got back to that advanced component. We weren't going to plant any more cotton. Seemed like we'd have plenty for a little while. I was off to bed, 10 o'clock, healing up pretty quick. I was upset. That person had got themselves killed on one of our traps. I don't know why we keep setting them loose right there. Turns out we're not the brightest sometimes. One of our guns broke down, so I had to fix that. Then I had a meal. And then I was off to bed again. I got all healed up during the night. And a mad tortoise came, trying to get a piece of us for some reason. We decided we were going to try and save our trap, so we ran out with our guns and see if we could give it the business. That thing's shell's pretty tough. I could see bullets bouncing right off it. Right between the two of us, we got it before too long. We decided we'd try and butcher that thing up. I was watching TV then. Decided to do some cleaning after that. Seemed like a never-ending game around here, keeping the place clean. Marjot was researching, and some alpacas showed up, friendly as could be. So we invited them on in. Marjot was tossing horseshoes. I was cutting cotton out of the ground. The alpacas seemed to be alright. Happy little guys. I had myself a meal. Started working on a bionic ear. That was about the last of the bionics I needed. I couldn't think of anything else to do. After working on that for a while, I was off to bed. And Marjot followed. We were both still crabby about our ex-prisoner stepping on one of our traps, despite the fact that it wasn't overly our fault. We did the best we could there. Marjot slept. I worked on that component. I was going to have that ear before long. There was some rice that came due about that time, so I got that pulled out of the ground. Marjot was messing around with our game of RimWorld, and I went and laid down, see if I could get her to install that ear for me. And she came and did the job. That was it. I had everything I could get. I was feeling pretty awesome. I could move, hear, see, manipulate better than I ever would have dreamed. I was a totally new man. Once I got that powered armor Marjot was working on, and once we got her set up, we'd be the awesomest couple on the planet. I decided to bring supplies in so I could do faster cooking. I was sick of running around everywhere trying to get that done. I could hardly stay on top of it. So with the supplies brought in, that went a lot faster. I was tossing horseshoes. Marjot had a meal. She went off to bed. She was feeling alright. And I was feeling okay. Not a lot to complain about. Nothing meaningful anyway. Trader was passing overhead about that time. We sold all the wood we had. I was still cooking meals, trying to stay on top of that. Someone contacted us saying they were being chased. Needed some help, but we really didn't need any more trouble. There was enough people mad at us. Some spaceship chunk falling out of the ground about that time. I was gonna have to go deal with that once I got done with the cooking. And I was about out of meat and didn't want to butcher those other 2 deer we had laying in there. And we had a good pile of meals going. So I ran out to deal with that spaceship chunk. Marjot got the supplies put away after she got done screwing around with the telescope, doing some cleaning. A weird ship chunk came down nearby right around that time. We didn't know what to make of it. It started a heck of a fire though. We were gonna try and ignore it as long as we could. I had to make some more advanced components so I could start making bionics for Marjot. That weird ship chunk was making a weird humming noise. It wasn't overly bothersome, it was just creepy. So we didn't have any reason to complain about it. But it sure was weird that it was nearby. Somebody called us wanting some pump shotguns, offering some stuff in trade. We weren't terribly interested though. Marjot was out milking a muffalo, and she was going back to do some more research. A grizzly bear was hunting one of our muffalo about that time. I whistled all the animals in, set the door to close. That Grizzo ended up attacking one of our alpaca. In the end, we decided we weren't terribly concerned with it though. If it left some alpaca for us, we'd take it, butcher it up. If not, it certainly wasn't the end of the world. If this got to be a problem though, we could take care of that Grizzo. I was making an advanced component. Some people were passing by about that time. Relatively friendly people. Marjot and I decided we'd run out, see what was inside that ship. Might be we could just destroy the thing. When I shot it, a whole ton of aliens came popping out of the thing. Those people ended up in a crazy firefight. Eventually they all buggered off. That was a new alien we hadn't seen before. Some type of crazy combination of a couple different types of aliens that look like to me. I don't know, but I certainly didn't like it. We went over to see if we could lure the bastards onto our traps. And sure enough, they fell for the trick once again. They were bleeding that acid blood everywhere. We were trying to give them the business as best we could. There were some wounded people out there. We were going to see if we could rescue them. Since it is kind of our fault, they'd clearly had their faces attacked by one of them little face-hugging aliens. We didn't know what to do about that. We were going to try and nurse them back to health, see if we could help them out. So we ran out. I was going to practice my doctoring skills once again. Marjot decided she'd rather destroy that ship. There were dead aliens laying everywhere. We were going to have to pick all that up. I got Bud tended. Marjot brought in Mad Dog. He wasn't wounded, except for having some kind of weird lump in his belly. Clearly something had happened to his face. And something was weird with these two. They clearly had something implanted in them, but we didn't know what to do to get it out of them. Things were certainly amiss here, and we were both kind of worried about it. We were going to have to get rid of them as soon as we could. Pirate merchant flew overhead about that time, so I made a note to get in there and call him. Otherwise, things were what they were. We might have to put these people down before aliens erupted out of them. God knows what was going to happen. We had enough guns, security around. Shouldn't be a big deal. We just wanted to help them, didn't know if we could. There were all kinds of supplies, dead people laying around we'd have to clean up. Dead aliens as well. It was going to be a busy time tomorrow. We'd see what that brings.